for joining. My name is Rejith Krishnan. I am the co-founder and CEO of Cloud Control. We provide SRE as a service on Kubernetes. So today we are going to talk about improving the time to market using Kubernetes. And I have Joanna with me. Joanna, why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah, hello, everybody. My name is Joanna. I'm a client partner at Maxima, and I am cooperating with Rejith in terms of SRE as a service. And as he mentioned, today we're going to talk about how to reduce time while implementing Kubernetes, simply because last time we spoke about how to reduce costs. And also we need to remember that not only money are important, but also the time we spend on the process. So this is why we are discussing this topic today.
Awesome. So I have a deck created, so I'm going to use that deck to answer most of the questions during the session. And also, we have a quick demo at the end of this. I'll also share my screen and show the demo of a Kubernetes cluster and show you an application getting deployed with the right tools in place. You can see how fast it gets deployed and also all the observability that you get. And today, just to give you the format, right? So we have a couple of folks from our team watching the LinkedIn channel. So if you have any questions, please do post the questions there. We'll answer it, or one of our team members will answer it. And also, we want to point out that we do offer a free assessment of your cloud and how that would fit in a Kubernetes cluster, and how much, and we can give you an estimate on how much you would save and how long it will take for you to get to a point where you can start seeing the savings in the cloud. So we'll share the link at the end of the session. So Joanna, why don't we start?
Yeah, definitely. Also, I would like to mention that if by any chance you will not have a time to watch this whole webinar today, you can always rewatch it because it's going to be available, and you can also reach out directly to me or to Rejith. So we're going to share a link to this session with you, so you can also share it with your team members or other people who might be interested in it. So starting. Okay, so last time we talked about money, which is crucial at the moment, but we need to remember that saving money is not the only thing that we need to focus on. So the next thing is time. So you told me that a very important part of this is moving from VMs to containers. Are the containers a reason why this time can be precious?
Yes, containers is one of the key factors in saving time. So when you look at Kubernetes, Kubernetes is the most popular container orchestration platform. And today, if you look at the cloud, 90% or 99% of the workloads that are running in the cloud are running in VMs. And I would say 80% of them can be converted into containers. Now, VMs are good. It's working out very well for most of the use cases, but containers is a new option. Now, what does containers bring to you? One is speed, right? And speed means because it's lightweight, you can deploy applications much faster. That means you can fix bugs, apply enhancements. You can get more value to the customers quicker, sooner, because containers are fast and containers are really lightweight. Now, saving money, as we discussed last time, saving money is important. So being lightweight definitely gives you more flexibility in terms of adding more workloads into the same resources that you get from the cloud. But in addition to that, the benefit is also speed. So today we are going to focus on the speed and containers. And to answer your question, Joanna, the containers gets you the speed that you need, and that's one of the main factors.
And if we are talking about the speed, does it affect at any point the perfection or the process itself? are we not risking that we're going to lose something with this kind of approach?
So the good question. See, anytime when you have to change from the current process to a new process, there is effort, there is initial investment that you need to do. Yes, the answer to the question is yes, your process is going to change. You have to put some effort up front. You have to invest up front to get this benefit, but the benefit is huge, right? So the return of investment is really good and quick. So the way you approach that is you use the right tools, right? So having the right tools in place, applying those right tools to get that containerization done is important. So your process will change, but there are tools out there that can help you.
Okay, but what kind of tools?
Right. So today, there are, if you go to Kubernetes.io, which is the primary site where Kubernetes keeps all the documentation and all the partners, links, and everything. If you go there, there is a page called Landscape, where it actually lists all the partners in the ecosystem. There are, I think, around 1,000 of them. So there are so many tools. So it's important to choose the right tools, right? So as part of our service, that's what we offer. We pick the right tools, right? So there are, Kubernetes is like a Swiss Army knife. There is a good way and bad way to use it. So applying the right tools is very, very important. Now we are going to talk about how those tools can be aligned to fit your need. So I have a slide coming up on how we can do that. So let me switch to that slide. I'll give you an idea how that flow will look like, right? So let me make it full screen as well.
Yes.
So here we are talking about a reference implementation. So on the right-hand side, we have the Kubernetes clusters. It could be dev, QA, production. And on the left, you have the people that are involved, right? Now, if you look at your developers and operations on the left, they want to be able to use an automated pipeline. And I'll cover what those pipelines should have minimally, right? So the idea is to get the developers to use a pipeline, automated pipeline with the right tools to deploy into Kubernetes. Now, from a very high level, the primary tools that you want to bring in, number one, you would need a GitOps engine. So there are several options out there. One example would be Git Actions in GitHub. So there are, each Git solution has their own tools, and we bring all that together in our platform as well. So the idea is start with the GitOps engine. That means when the developers want to make a change in your application, they should simply commit the change or save the change to a Git repository. From there, the GitOps engine will take and start the process. Now, in the GitOps engine, you need a way to containerize. So you need a tool that you need to pick based on your needs, a tool that can containerize your application so that it can be deployed into Kubernetes. So containerizing, so we can call it the build process. So as part of the build, you need to containerize it. Now, once it is containerized, you want to make sure that you are scanning that for vulnerabilities. So you need to choose a tool that can scan for vulnerabilities. And you want to be able to see the result of the scanning of your images or your container images, scan them, make sure that the developers can see those results, fix them, and then we want a repository where that image can be stored. So that's another tool that you need to bring in. And there are several options. An example would be, Artifactory. So Artifactory is a tool that you can use to store images that are ready to deploy. Now comes the next option, which is our next tool, which is Deployment Manager. So Kubernetes needs manifests. So you have to create those manifests in order for it to deploy. So now you need to create these and manage them. So you need a deployment manager that can create these manifests, deploy them. Now, once it is deployed, you also want to bring in all the observability that you need. The observability that Kubernetes natively brings is limited. So you're expected to bring the right tools, like Prometheus is an example, to see how your resource utilization is. And then you need Grafana or some sort of dashboard in front of it to see that and see those, visualize them. So those are the kind of high-level tools that you would need. And ideally, you want to automate and connect all these things together to your Git so that you can make or get the maximum utilization out of the Kubernetes clusters.
And about those manifests, are they created each time when the app or image is being deployed, or how does it work?
Yes, they are created each time. The reason is because every time you build and a change comes in, the build process kicks in and it creates a new image. And
Okay.
that image is tagged with the new ID. And that ID need to be updated into your manifest so that Kubernetes can deploy that particular image, right? Now, as part of that, there might be other changes as well. Like, for example, you might have a new variable that you want to inject into the process. You might have a new secret or a new certificate that you want to inject into the manifest. So the manifest ideally should be created dynamically, and that is important. And you want to log it and version control it.
Okay.
Because Kubernetes by itself doesn't version control it. So that means if you have to roll back, you need to be able to access your previous manifest. Remember, everything that we do here is in an immutable mode. That means everything is moving forward. So you want to make sure that also gives you the ability to revert back. Now, in order to revert back, you need to have the previous version of the image that's already sitting in the repository, and you also need the previous version of the manifest. That when you do that, it reverts back quickly, right? We have clients who are reverting back within seconds, and that is possible using the Kubernetes and containerization.
So you can also fix the possible mistakes, yes, since you have the previous version available. And I would like to ask one more thing, because the whole process works on a pattern that can be replicated. And how does it affect flexibility?
Good question. So now having a process in place hooked up to your Git and having a pipeline, automated pipeline, actually increases your flexibility, right?
Okay.
We have customers today, we have onboarded into this process. They went from 2 to 3 deployments to production a year to 2 to 3 to 5 deployments a month to production. And we have customers who are also deploying daily 2 times to production.
Okay.
Now, how is it possible? Because one, you have an automated pipeline. All you're doing is you're keeping a branching strategy. So you know exactly what goes to production. And whenever you want to make a fix, you follow the Git process, you create a feature branch out of your production, make the fix, deploy to QA. It comes up in a few seconds, test it out, and then promote that to the production. And the pipeline will take care of deploying it. Now, you do have an option there when you're deploying critical fixes and or enhancements. You also have the option to use blue-green deployments, which means you can say, let the current live site stay as is. I will bring up a separate installation. I will test it out, and I'll then select how many or what percentage users will point to the new version, right? Or who will point to the new version. So maybe my business team or the marketing team or the testing team can go in with a private URL to the new instance running in production, test it out, and then over a period of time you switch the live site, right? So these options are also there, right? So the flexibility increases, but you only get this flexibility if you automate it.
Of course, yeah, makes a lot of sense, definitely. So this gave me a picture of perfection, and also what you said before, that it is always possible to come back to the previous view, previous pattern. But if it looks so good, what are the objections? What can go wrong, in your opinion?
I think choosing the right, again, when there is some investment upfront, right? So that investment has to be right?
Yes.
I have seen folks coming to us with the wrong tools in place, right? Say we onboarded a customer, an enterprise customer last year, where they spend almost 9 months playing with the different tools.
Oh,
And the reason is because there are so many tools, and depending upon who you are hiring, what their experience is, they're going to bring in different ideas, and getting that done is challenging, right? When you don't have the right tools. So you want to make sure that you're choosing the right tools. Now, when you don't pick the right tools, the problem is also the project can fail, and that can also create problems for you going forward, right? So the idea is, of course, when you do the investment, make sure that you pick the right team to do it,
yes.
and pick the right tools, do your research and understand what it takes to build that automation, and and that will help you in getting there, right? Now the objection is mostly going to be that, hey, I have to make that extra investment, right? Now, if
Okay.
I have a plan already, say for example, if one of the challenges that we see with some of our customers is that if they already invested in certain tools, and some of them are licensed, some of them are free. Now they already invested in a team that is actually taking that forward, and they're not getting the result. So now they have to make a choice. Hey, do I drop it and come up with a new plan? So always, use the right tools, look at reference implementations, see how others have solved the problem, and try to mimic that, right? So, and that's what we are doing here. We have an implementation with standard set of tools with flexibility for our customers to choose some of the tools that they want to pick, right? For example, most of the customers, when we approach them, they already have a scanner available, because scanners are, like, they already have a licensed image on vulnerability scanning in place. So you want to be flexible to use that, right? And Kubernetes images are capable of plugging into any such scanners. Most modern scanners are compatible with Kubernetes. So you want to just plug it in. So you need to find the right tools and keep the flexibility in areas where you can use existing licenses.
But the best option will be to reach out to us and ask what
Yeah.
is the right tool and what is the right solution, no? So I believe this kind of advisory and consultancy is also very important from our part. So I'm going to check if we have any questions appearing right now. I don't see any questions, so maybe we should go to the demo part.
All right.
Cool.
So I'm going to use this slide as the kind of introduction to my demo. So we are going to show a setup, this reference implementation already implemented, and I'm going to show you an application that is running in a cluster in dev, and I'm going to pretend to be a developer and make a change and show you how that change gets deployed. So I'm going to switch to my screen now. So I'm going to switch to my screen. So the same slide. So I'm going to bring in an application. So here is a symbol. It's a Java application. It's a clock. It is a public URL. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a change. So I'm going to switch back and forth between the slide, and so I'm going to pretend to be a developer. I'm going to make a change, and this implementation this automation pipeline in place is going to take my change, build the image, scan it, create the manifest, deploy it into the cluster, and you'll see the change getting applied. So let's go back to the application. I'm going to go to the source code again. This public, so please look at the channel or in the LinkedIn comment section. We will be sharing these URLs. So I'm going to go to my public account. I'm going to use this. I'm going to click on the source code repo of this application. Again, this is a Java application. So this is written in Tomcat. It's running in Tomcat. So if you're a Tomcat developer, you'll know what the contents are. It's basically written in Java with, I think, the source are in here is a source, and I think there is a JSP. So what I'm going to do is so there is JSP in the web content folder. So this is a JSP file that is displayed here. Okay, so you can see it's clock.jsp, and the clock.jsp source is here. Again, this is public repo. You can always go to the link shared, and you can see this yourself. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a change. So for this demo, I'm going to change the title here. So this text here, I'm going to change the color of this background color. And I'm also going to change this value here displayed here, which is in the manifest file. So here, I'm going to open the manifest. Now, think of this as a bug fix that your team is doing, or an enhancement that your team is doing. And I'm going to, in this case, I'm editing the manifest itself. So this is, by the way, it's our manifest. This is what our pipeline understands. And whatever automation tool you're using, they will have their own config and manifest files. So here I'm showing you our manifest file. So this title, you can see it is displayed over here. I'm going to change that now. So I'm going to say demo over LinkedIn. I'm going to change the color to change this value to 396. I'm going to commit. Now, going back to the deck. So I'm here. I did the commit to GitHub. There's a GitHub account. And now this connection, this is through a webhook. So let's look at the webhook. So if you look at, go to the settings, webhooks, you can see this here is a webhook. This is the active webhook. So you can see this is the webhook to the cluster to which it is running. It is deploying. So the commit that I did is flowing through this webhook into the GitOps engine in the pipeline. And it is doing all these steps here. And then it's going to turn to the deployment manager. And then the deployment manager will create the Kubernetes manifest with the updated image and the configuration. Because now, remember, I changed some configuration, right? Now it's going to create a new manifest, and I'll show you all that in our dashboard as well. And then it's going to deploy to the dev cluster here. Now, let me quickly walk through the manifest here. So in this manifest, we have 3 sections that are relevant to this demo. So one is the build section. So this is it's using a Tomcat 9 template, and it is using Maven pom.xml to build the image and the binaries. And then it's deploying into Rejith/dev. It's a dev cluster to which it's going to deploy, and it's going to deploy 4 instances, and the traffic is going to come through port 8080, and we are going to use a rolling upgrade model. That means it's going to, there are 4 instances running, it will upgrade one at a time so that the site won't go down. And then these are the properties. So let's look at the application. So you can see that the change is already applied, and a couple of instances are already upgraded to blue, and a couple of them are still. So remember, it was a rolling upgrade. So it's upgrading one at a time, and you can see a couple of instances are already upgraded. Now let's look at the observability use cases, right? Now this is good. So this is how fast you can deploy, right? So that's what we are showing here. Now, once this is in place, or a process like this in place, what we need to do is to ensure that there is enough observability in place. So let me show you the different observability use cases, right? So going back to the slide. So here the webhook triggered the GitOps engine. So you need to know what is going on in the GitOps engine. So the developers are going to say, I want to see what is going on. How was my the image built, right? So that's one use case number 1. Use case 2 is, hey, you generated the manifest for me. I want to see the manifest, right? So that is the deployment manager's log. Then comes the runtime. So my application is running here in dev. What CPU or how many cores is it consuming? How much memory it is using? Things like that, right? So that is the 3rd use case. And the 4th use case is, hey, my application is writing logs. Can I see it? I want to scan through that, right? Let's take each one of them. So for that, I'm going to go to our dashboard. So I'm going to open our dashboard. Now, I have tons of things running here. I'm going to log in using my ID. Now, this observability is key to your success and also the flexibility that you need, right? Because you need a closed loop. You want to see the feedback. So when you do something, I know it's fully automated, but I want to see what's going on. So that is what this dashboard is bringing to you. So you can see I have tons of stuff running here. So here is the application I just deployed. Tomcat loaded in O3. It is running in Rejith/dev cluster. And let me zoom in a little bit more so you can see better. So here, so you can see that there are multiple columns here. The first or the third column here is the Gitops engine. It says there were 2 builds today, so I can click here and see the 2 builds. Now I did test this right before the webinar started, so that was this build here. The current build is 9:52:18 a.m. There was one commit by me, so let's open that and see. So here is a change I made. So this is the kind of visibility you have, right? You want to make sure that, hey, what was changed? Now I can see that, and you can see that, hey, there is an artifact or the image created with 22 meg. It took 26 seconds to do it. And if you want to see the log, all you need to do is click here. So what we're saying here is this is the kind of visibility you need into the build process, right? So now you can scroll down and see all the things here. In this case, it is pulling all the contents from the Git. Then it is moving on to building the Maven image. And then you can see there are Docker steps down, container creation. And then it is preparing and pushing it into the repository. All that is done. So I can also show you a less verbose version of this. In our UI, you can just click on activity, and it will show you the top level items, right? So now here again, we have more visibility. You can click on this D here, and they can actually see the message that came from Git. So here is the Git message, and here it says, here is the committer information, and these are the files modified, and here is the link to the commit, right? So all the information is here, full visibility into what is going on in the GitOps part of the pipeline.
Cool.
Yes, Joanna, go ahead.
No, I was just saying that it's cool, that's super fast, because it's shown that everything took like 26 seconds. So it's really fast.
That's it. So you want to be fast, and at the same time, you want to provide the visibility that you need, right? So that is the key. That's what we're trying to achieve here. Now, the next column is, and let me go back to the slide again. So what we covered now is the visibility into GitOps engine, part of the build process, right? Now, the next part in the pipeline is the deployment manager. So that is what we have here in this column. So what you need to do is just click here. You can see that the 2 deployments happened today. And you can see that today, now as we were showing the demo, 4 instances got deployed, and it was a successful deployment. It took 15 seconds. So let's look at the log. I'm going to click on this success, and it's going to pull the log. I'm going to scroll down. So here, what you're seeing is purely all the Kubernetes interactions. So the deployment manager is sitting there and representing the developer or the operations team, creating the manifest dynamically, and talking to Kubernetes and deploying it. So one of the important manifest files here is the deployment template. So here there is one line that says deployment YAML preparation complete. So if you click on the D next to it, you can actually see the manifest. So here is the manifest that was sent to Kubernetes to deploy this. Right? And you can see this is the new image created, and this is the URL or the tag of that new image created for that particular change. And you can see the configuration was changed. Remember the title I changed. So the title is here. So it is basically communicating what I changed as part of the configuration through the manifest to Kubernetes, so that it can the Kubernetes knows what to deploy and what configuration it should run with. Now, again, full visibility into the deployment manager. Now let's look at the next use case, right? So we covered GitOps engine's observability, the deployment manager's observability, and the logs, right? Now we are going to go to, hey, it's running now, 4 instances running. What's the resource consumption of that, right? And how much core or how many cores or how much memory it's using. plus we want to see the logs. So let's look at those two use cases. So going back to the dashboard again, that's where this column comes in. So you can see that, at some point it was running 6 instances. Remember, it was rolling deployment. So it was deploying additional new instances with the new version while the old one was still running. So at some point there were 6 of them running. Now there is probably 4 running. I think by this time all the deployments are complete, and now there are 4 running. So I'm going to click on this. What this shows you is the number of cores used by the application. So now it's around close to 10 o'clock. So it's up to 10. This is where we are. It's roughly around 0.07 core is what it is using. And it is using roughly around 3 GB of memory. This is specific to that application. So from a developer standpoint, they can see exactly what they were looking for from how is my application running? What is the resource consumption? So we collect about, and this is again coming from Kubernetes. It provides tons of data, about I think 30 to 40 data points. All of them are here. You can drill down and see it. And I'm also going to show you a couple of other dashboards in Grafana as well. So this is our single pane of glass view into everything, but you can also put additional dashboards, and I'll show you that in a minute. Now we know how many cores, what memory it's using, and page fault, file system use, things like that. Now let's drill down to the logs. So for that, what I'm going to do is, I shouldn't have closed that. I'm going to go back to that screen again. So here is the button to go to view logs, right? So here you can see the heat map of the last 1 hour of all the log events of that application, right? Now, each dot here is representing 1 minute. Right? So I can drill down on any, for example, let's say at 9:26, I just want to see the log of that. I just click here. You can see actually the log from that particular minute, right? And I can scroll through it. I can copy, download, copy to clipboard or download it. Now I can also do, need the ability to search. Like for example, I have a sample pattern here. So I want to search for 2 patterns, delete star and extract star, appearing in my log. So here you can see that blue is representing delete star, and purple is representing the extract star. So if I click on any of these purple dots, it will show me all the lines with extract. See that? Now in our tooling, we also build the ability to, so whenever you are doing searches, you lose context because you don't know the lines before and after, because it's only showing you the lines that match this criteria, right? So we also built a tool to give you some context. So all you need to do is click here. It will show you the lines before and after that doesn't match the pattern. So you get a context of where that particular line appeared and what was the context in which it appeared. So that's the and again, you can slide the scale to go out to any time frame you want, and download what you're looking for. And this is a good way to kind of for a developer to be very productive in terms of troubleshooting, right?
Yeah.
Now in our case, what we also did, and we took this the data coming from the log and the data collected from the CPU and the memory resource utilization. We also feed that into Alert Manager, and we generate alerts automatically for the customers, right? For example, when memory goes above a certain limit or CPU is spiking out of the ordinary, we trigger an alert, and we have the capability to trigger an incident management system or a Slack message or a Teams message. Now I want to show you a couple more dashboards. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open another tab, go to our Grafana dashboard. I want to show you a couple of dashboards here. So this is the cluster in which it is running. It's a 3-node cluster. It's giving you the data at the cluster level. So these cluster, in this case, there's a 3 VM cluster. 1 is the master and 2 are workers. It's a Kubernetes cluster. and you can see the performance, the data collected from those, right? And you can switch between. So this is the master. If you want to look at the worker, you can switch to that and look at this. Now again, all this data is going into Alert Manager. So the backend of this in this particular case is Prometheus and Alert Manager with Grafana as the dashboard or the visualization tool. I want to show you one more dashboard here. So this is the pod level dashboard. That means it's specifically looking at the workload. So I'm going to go to my namespace, and you can see that there are 4 pods running. That's the application that I just demoed. And let's go back to say 6 hours. You can see the pod level usage. In terms of the first one, I think it's memory, then the CPU, and you can look at each one of them if you want to, and figure out what's going on. So this just another dashboard. So that's what I wanted to show as a demo. This is a kind of a reference implementation of a pipeline to Kubernetes. And this in the context of this webinar, so the idea here is you now having an automation tool like this with the automation pipeline, you have the flexibility, you have better time to market. So when something needs to be changed, you ask your developers to make the change, and it goes into the Git repository. The automation pipeline automatically takes it and displays or deploys it into the cluster. So let me stop sharing. So Joanna, hope that was helpful. You got a sense of what a reference implementation will look like and how you can quickly deploy applications.
Yeah, from my perspective, what was super interesting, apart from the process itself, is that in a dashboard, it is visible what works, when it works, what is changing, and how fast. So this is also important, not only for the developers, but also for the people who need to follow the process and organize all the stuff. So this is really, really cool. Thanks for that.
Awesome. All right, so let me switch to the last slide here. So as I said earlier, we do provide free assessment to basically to get you an understanding of where you are in terms of your cloud journey, and we can look at it and give you an idea of what it takes to get to a Kubernetes based deployment model with the agility and the cost savings that you can achieve using Kubernetes.
And find the right tools.
Find the right tools. That's right.
Exactly. That's going to be the motto after this webinar, I hope.
Right. That's exactly what it is. That's right. So, all right. Anything else? Any other questions? I think I saw that our team was answering some of the questions in LinkedIn. Again, thanks everyone for joining. Please do reach out to us. You can scan this QR code. It will take you to a free assessment page. You can fill the form, or just reach out to us in LinkedIn. We'll be happy to answer any questions.
Definitely. Thank you very much for your time, and I hope to meet you again on another webinar.
Thank you. Thanks everyone. Thanks.